Sometimes being a professed Christian is kind of hard, because everyone likes to come right up to your face and tell you exactly why you're wrong. But also, it's hard in these times to really know where the Bible stands on certain social issues. Well, you no longer need to wonder. So what does the Bible say about love? Part 1. Love is hard to define, and one could make an argument that the entire Bible is kind of a story of love, but the easiest way to describe it is to find the original meaning of love. The Greeks have 6 definitions of love, but we'll focus on the 4 that are more pertinent to the Bible. Before we start, I want to read a verse from 1 John 4:7, and I want you to really think about it before we start the lesson. 1 John says, "Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God." Let's look at those 4 types of love. Now, what you have to remember is that all of these types of love are perfectly fine, in moderation, and especially with the first one, just with marriage. So, can you guess what that one is? You're right, sexual love, also known as eros. This type of love doesn't really need to be explained, but how we'll categorize it is that it gives much and expects much. Once you enter that type of relationship, you are expected to keep it going, and no matter how many ways I try to reword that, it always sounds slightly sexual. Storge is a love of family. It's like a parent loving an offspring, or the other way around. This type of love gives so much, but expects so little. I mean, kids, be honest, your parents do a lot for you, right? And we don't really do anything in return. And parents, well, you know what I'm talking about. This is probably the most sacred love behind the last form, because this bond will always be there. There's always someone in your family that loves you so deeply that there is really no other word to describe it except for love. This word is also similar to the Greek word pragma, which is the long-lasting love or love of a spouse. Philia is the love of and from friends, not the TV show. This is the love that gives a little, but also really expects a little. Friends are great, and the TV show is too. And we do really get a lot out of Friends, like being able to escape the problems that we're facing, or even, get some, inadvertent advice. However, the friend love moves out of that category and into the family love once you start to rely on them more like you would a member of your family. The friend love is great, trust me, but it's not enough. So before we get into the last one, let's sum up those first 3 types of love into Romans 13:8-10. Owe nothing to anyone except for your own obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of God's law. For the commandments say, you must not commit adultery, you must not murder, you must not steal, you must not covet. These and other such commandments are summed up into one. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love does no wrong to others, so love fulfills the requirements of God's law. And lastly, we have agape love, the unconditional love. Agape love is literally perfect love. This type of love gives everything, yet expects nothing. This is the love that people refer to when they say that, well, God loves you. The other love that is described here is impossible for humans to obtain. This is a type of love that only God can offer. He loves you and everyone, no matter how much you sin, and yet He doesn't expect us to do anything. If He did expect something from us, He wouldn't have given us free will, because, trust me, with free will comes the ability and the want to not do that. Now, of course, this type of love is the important one, because without this love, Jesus would never have come to this earth. Millions of people would never have met each other, so it's likely that you probably wouldn't exist. And what's even crazier to think about is that without this type of love, there's literally no way we could have ever made it past Noah's day. Agape love is the type of love that is thought of as nice and perfect and simply the best. Better than all the rest. In fact, it's so much better than all the rest because it literally is perfect love. However, what people really don't realize is that agape love is actually a way to fight. So if you ever need to tussle with somebody, just, throw a little 1-2 agape in there and then KO. Over. Now Now, it's not like the Adam Warlock punch of the entire universe type thing, but it's a way instead to combat internal and religious problems that we run into. This love from God attacks our flesh, our desires, and our selfishness. It's no adamantium claw, mind you, but this love helps us put God and others before ourselves. This love also attacks the world. However, unlike Galactus, this helps the world by attacking it. This is the basic gospel in action. And wow, I have never had so many, just Marvel references in one. That was awesome. John 13:35. For your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. This love also attacks Satan. Now, Satan loves sexual immorality and any type of love that is bad, ever. And that's what really makes him Satan. However, this love from God can and will fight everything that Satan could possibly throw at us. And lastly, this love honestly can attack divisions in the church. I cannot stand the fact that our religion, Christianity, which is built on loving one another and accepting people and just bringing them to Christ, is one of the most divided churches in the world. If not the universe. I don't know. It might be. I don't know. I find that my pastor actually put it best. Division is built when love becomes tarnished. I'm a pretty good pastor. And speaking of love, this is really what God commands, isn't it? Well, if you're not sure, then turn to John 15:12, where Jesus says, and I quote, "This is my commandment, love each other the same way I have loved you," and drop the mic. But I know what you're thinking. Kyle, you said this was perfect love, which is great and all, and by the way, I love your shirt, but you said that humans aren't perfect. First of all, thank you so much. I like this shirt. It's from Tony Stark gave it to me. And secondly, you have a good memory, and thanks for watching. And lastly, yes, of course, humans aren't perfect. However, perfect actions and perfect love are two totally different things. Perfect love is our goal, not perfect actions. So how do we attempt to reach this perfect love? Well, Matthew 5:43 through 45a tells us, "You have heard the law that says, love your neighbor," which, by the way, is a reference to Leviticus 19:18. I suggest you go read it. "And hate your enemy. But I say, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. In that way, you will be acting as the true children of your Father in heaven." And that's simply how we achieve the same love that God gives us. Now, it won't be easy, of course, but then again, anything worth accomplishing is not easy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed what should have been the first episode of the Love Month. By the way, this is a part 1 of 2 of the series that I've called, What is Love? Small child, do not cause me pain. Do not cause me pain. Oh no. It's a really long time. So if you found this episode intriguing and you want to go see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and you will be immediately notified for when the next video comes out. Or you can just go over to my page and, watch the others that are already up. So what I want to do is I want to start a thing called the Action of the Week, where we do an act of random kindness, which is a reference to Evan Almighty. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a pretty funny movie. But what they do in there is it's an anagram for Ark, which, the movie is about Noah, whatever. So what I think we should do is we should do an act of random kindness. And you do it this week and try to keep doing it, and eventually it'll just be like, something that you do all the time. For instance, holding doors for others. That's a good one to do because, well, you might just brighten someone's day in an act of random kindness. So I suggest you do it. I'll be telling you what I did next week, and then, of course, you can tell me what you did this week in next week's episode. That sounds confusing, but it's really not that confusing. God bless, and may the Force be with you. Let's look at the first 4 types of love. No, wait. Let's look at those 4 types of love. Let's look at the first... Storge. No, Storge. Storge. Why do I not look these things up? He loves you and me, no matter how much you... Woo! Voice crack there. Woo! Alright. It's a song. Oh, I don't know who sings it. Oh, that's right. I don't care. Okay. Clap and a half to me. There we go. First off, thank you so much. I love this shirt. I almost tipped over the thing doing that. Let me try that again. Yeah, I think that's everything. All right. Bye.